Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you're convinced someone has overestimated you? For example, let's say you walk into a new job and realize that everyone thinks you're more qualified than you are. Or you're handed a leadership role and you smile and nod like you have it all together, while internally you're thinking, I have no idea what I'm doing. We all know this feeling, right? It's that feeling when you're given the keys before you've read the manual. There's a meeting, a moment, or a mess in front of you, and you're just hoping no one finds out you're winging it. We all hit seasons in life that feel like that. Seasons that are uncharted. We have no clear map, no instructions, just this vague sense that we're supposed to move forward, even though we're not sure where we're going or if we're even the right person for the job. And yet somehow we got the invitation. Our faith is like this too. We tend to think spiritual growth is all about certainty. But the reality is much of the life of faith happens in unfamiliar territory. When we're following God into places that feel too big, too strange, or too difficult. That's what makes this series so important. Because if you've ever felt underprepared, unsure, or overwhelmed by something in front of you, well, you're not alone. In fact, you've got something in common with one of the most well-known leaders in all of Scripture, Moses. So for the next several weeks, we're gonna walk with Moses, not just to learn history, but to wrestle with what it means to trust a God who invites us to move, even when the road ahead doesn't make sense. Here's what's true for a lot of us. Even if we don't always say it out loud, we want our lives to mean something. We want to do something important, something that lasts. But then we have that voice in our head that says, I'm not sure I believe in myself right now. We may hide our doubts and questions from everyone else, but they tend to be loud in our heads. On one hand, we feel like we don't have what it takes. And on the other hand, we feel like it's up to us to double down and figuring it out all on our own. Think about it. What would you do if you were given a task that was completely up to you? Chances are your mind would go straight to your limits. I'm not confident enough to lead. I'm not talented enough to make a difference. I'm not brave enough to go back to where I came from. I'm not the kind of person God would actually use. And the more we think that way, the smaller and smaller we start to feel. Like maybe we're not cut out for anything big. But what if we only feel that way because we're looking at it like life's challenges are all on us? What if God never meant for you to carry these burdens alone? What do you do when you feel called to something bigger, but you feel way too small? When you want to trust God with your story, but you're not even sure you trust yourself? Turns out, Moses knew exactly how that felt. And this is what's so exciting about what we're talking about, not just in this week, but in this entire series. Because if you've ever felt too small, too broken, too unsure, or too far gone, you're gonna see that God has a history of using people just like that. This series might just shift the way you see God, and it might help you start to believe He hasn't given up on using you. Let's start with a brief backstory on Moses. He was born a Hebrew, but through some incredible circumstances, he was raised in Pharaoh's palace. He still recognized his original lineage though, and after seeing an Egyptian beat a Hebrew, Moses acted in anger and killed the Egyptian. Frightened by the potential consequences of his actions, Moses fled Egypt. He spent the next 40 years tending sheep in the wilderness, a total reset on his life, a new place, a new identity, a quiet life. He probably thought, that part of my life, the Egypt part, the failure part, that chapter's over. And that's exactly when God showed up, through a burning bush. Okay, now hold on, let's just be real for a second. If you saw a plant that was on fire, but wasn't burning up, and then it started talking to you, you'd freak out, right? We all would. Same with Moses. But God often speaks in unexpected ways, through signs and wonders, through prophets, through friends, pastors, and podcasts. I mean, He even speaks to us through our kids and grandkids, sometimes without them even knowing. So if we're saying that God can't speak through a burning bush, well then we're limiting Him. And if we're saying that God can't speak to us, we're still limiting Him. In fact, maybe God used a burning bush here to show something to Moses before He even said a word. There's nothing I can't do. And then God spoke. I have indeed seen the misery of my people. So now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt." Right there in the middle of nowhere, God was calling Moses to go back to the place he ran from, to the people he once failed, to do something bigger than he'd ever imagined. But it wasn't a confident hero who responded. It was a hesitant, insecure man who immediately asked, "Who am I to do this?" It's the same question many of us ask when we sense God nudging us towards something outside our comfort zone. Whether it's leading a conversation, stepping into a new role, or just showing up with courage in a difficult relationship. God's response to Moses was simple but powerful. "I will be with you." He didn't give Moses a resume booster or a confidence pep talk. He didn't list Moses' qualifications. He simply offered himself. But Moses kept pushing back. What if they don't believe me? What if I don't know what to say? What if I'm not good enough? These aren't ancient fears. They're deeply human ones. They're the inner monologue of a person who sees their past more clearly than their potential. The thoughts of someone who knows what it's like to fail and fear rejection. But in the middle of Moses' protesting, God spoke words that echo throughout all of history. God told Moses he is. He says this, "I am who I am." God didn't soothe Moses with shallow reassurance. He recentered him in reality. God said, "I am." Not "I was," not "I will be," not "I hope to become." God was saying, "I am the constant, the creator, the sustainer. I am your source, your strength, your answer. I'm not sending you out alone. I'm sending you with me." Listen, it's easy to disqualify ourselves because of our inadequacies. We say, "I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm not smart enough, eloquent enough, or even spiritual enough." But when Moses brought up his limitations, God responded by bringing up his sufficiency. That's important for you and I to know as well. It's important for us to know that you don't have to be enough when God already is. He's enough for you, for the fear you carry, for the story you think disqualifies you, for the task you feel ill-equipped to handle. What's crazy is, even after all of this reassurance from God, Moses still tried to opt out of God's calling for him. But Moses pleaded with the Lord, "Oh Lord, I'm not very good with words. I never have been, and I'm not now, even though you have spoken to me. I get tongue-tied and my words get tangled." Sound familiar? You and I do that, don't we? In fact, what's your version of that excuse? Maybe it's, "My family won't listen to me. My coworkers think I'm a hypocrite. Why would anyone care what I have to say?" Maybe you've let fear masquerade as humility, but the truth is your insecurities don't scare God. He's not looking for polished, he's looking for willing. Where do you feel like you're not enough? Because that's often the very place God wants to work through you. Your weakness, it's not a disqualifier. It's a stage for his strength. Your excuses, they don't cancel his call. They just make his power that much more evident when you finally say yes. So the question isn't, "Who am I?" It's, "Who's with me?" And the answer to that question will change everything. And then God said something fascinating. Who gave human beings their mouths? Translation, I actually made your voice. I know how it works. What a mic drop moment. You see, God is faithful to his people. He was faithful to Moses, and he'll be faithful to you and I too. And this is where it should be freeing for us. God doesn't ask us to have it all figured out. He just asks us to listen, to trust, and to go. For those of you who are wondering if you're enough, well, here's the answer. You're not, which is actually so freeing because he is already enough. Moses wondered, will the people listen? But God flips the question, will you listen? Because you're worried about what they'll say, but I'm asking, will you trust me anyway? Earlier in their conversation, Moses had also asked God for a sign to prove to the people that God had sent him. So God asked Moses, what's in your hand? And Moses was holding a shepherd's staff. God told him, throw it down, and it became a snake. God said, pick it back up, and it turned back into a staff. All Moses had was a stick, and God turned it into a tool for miracles. God is still doing that today. He doesn't need perfect. He just needs willing, because you don't have to be enough. He already is, and he's ready to use you wherever you're at. So as we kick off this series, I want us to consider one question, not just for tonight, but for the whole journey we're about to take together. Write it down, memorize it, come back to it, talk about it with your family, sit with it during the week, because this one question could change everything. What would you do if you were absolutely certain that God was with you? Not kind of sure he's with you, not mostly hopeful, absolutely certain. What would you step into? What would you stop running from? What would you finally believe about yourself? Don't rush past that question. Let it sit with you. Let it mess with you, because it will reframe your fears, your future, and your faith. And if you start to doubt whether God is really with you, remember this: your God is big. When Moses asked, "Who should I tell the people you are?" God simply said, "I am." God is the always one. He is the one who reigns above all. He is powerful enough to speak through the fire, yet personal enough to find you in the wilderness. He was big enough to use Moses, and he's big enough to use you too. God has already placed something in your hands. Moses had a staff, nothing special. But in God's hands, it became the tool for miracles. You're holding something too. Your story, your friendships, your influence, your voice, your compassion. You don't need more. You just need to trust the one who gave it to you. So again, consider this question. What would you do if you were absolutely certain that God was with you? Because he is. He's always been. And he's not finished with you yet. There's a reason we started this series with Moses' burning bush moment. Because it's the moment everything shifted. Not because Moses got stronger or smarter or more spiritual, but because God reminded him of one crucial truth: I will be with you. That same promise holds true for you today. You may feel like you're walking into uncharted territory at work, in your family, in your faith, or maybe even within your own heart. But uncharted doesn't mean abandoned. It means God is doing something new, and he's not asking you to have it all figured out. He's just asking you to trust that he already does. What would you do if you were absolutely certain God was with you? You may not feel ready, but the good news is you don't have to be enough when God already is. That was true for Moses, and it's still true for you.